32 points, 8 assists, and 4.5 rebounds on over 52% from the field and 36% from 3. What are those numbers? Whose numbers are those? Well, I think you can guess those are Ja Morant's numbers, but those happen to be his numbers over the first 3 games of this season, plus the last 5 games of the season in which he played against the Utah Jazz in his first playoff run, one of the best defenses in the league. So it's safe to say that's now a little bit of a decent sample size in which we've seen Ja go up against teams like the Lakers and last year's Jazz and put up these ridiculous numbers on good efficiency. And while talking about Ja and how it looks like he's making that leap, I personally have always had him just that tier below the likes of Zion, Trey, Tatum, Luka, those guys, because I think those guys were a level above if you look at the production. But as of right now, when you're starting the season averaging 35 points a game, I don't think that will continue. If it does, well, I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I don't think that will continue. But if you're putting up these numbers, including numbers like this in the playoffs, your first playoff run, and now carrying that over into year 3 where the comparisons are starting to come. The comparisons were already happening with him and Derrick Rose, and you can see why. Now, this video isn't going to be about me comparing Ja to Derrick Rose. We'll just touch on it briefly. I want to talk about Ja in general because he's made some serious improvements in his game, and he just looks like he's at a different level right now. Like, genuinely, he's just playing at a different level, and the numbers exemplify it. The Grizzlies' start to the season exemplifies it. I know he missed a free throw. Boo-hoo. Who cares? He missed a free throw, but apart from that, he's had a damn near flawless start to the season. Well, he's been one of the MVPs of the league so far. It's only been 3 games. We have to take everything with a grain of salt, but you also look back to the playoffs, and that's why it looks like Ja might be taking a leap, and he might be on the verge of doing something pretty crazy. He might be on the verge of doing something pretty crazy. Now, before I go any further, if you could drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, or if you haven't subscribed, that would be much appreciated. It helps out a ton. I make content like this close to pretty much every single day, and doing so, that would be cool. But let's just talk about the comparisons between Ja and Derrick Rose before I go any further on Ja, because they've been happening ever since he entered the league. You can see why. People have already been cringing over how Ja lands because the man has tried to dunk on everyone and anyone in his way. Kevin Love knows all too well, but Kevin Love is not the only one. He does it regularly, and he comes off with some crazy dunks and some crazy what-if dunks. So people have cringed over that. But in general, just the way he floats through the air, his acrobatics, his passing in air, just a lot of things that he does, you can see the resemblance between him and Derrick Rose, and also the impact they made immediately coming out of college. So you see that. But just one number, or just one kind of comparison that I like between him and Derrick Rose that is quite interesting. Obviously, we know D Rose, well, he averaged 21 and 6 in year 2 before year 3, winning the MVP as the youngest player ever. No, I'm not going to say Ja is going to win MVP. Settle down. But what is interesting to note is Derrick Rose, in that year, 21 and 6, in the playoffs, he upped those numbers and averaged 27 and 7, which then carried on into the next season, where, as I said, he averaged 25 and 8 and won MVP. Now, why is this relevant? Well, Ja Morant, year 2, didn't really have the big jump like Derrick Rose did in year 2, or at least didn't have much of a jump scoring and production-wise, but led his team to the playoffs, and in the playoffs, averaged 30 points a game against the Utah Jazz, and he, like D Rose, has carried that over into year 3. Am I saying he's going to win MVP? Am I saying he's going to continue to put up 35 points a game? No. Am I saying there's definitely something in the fact that both of these guys had good playoff runs, or at least good playoff series in year 2, and then in year 3 looked like different versions of themselves. Not to mention, just as a point guard, generally you're going to get better as time goes on. But I do believe Ja Morant getting that playoff experience and dominating several of those games, or several time periods in those games against one of the best defenses in the league, Rudy Gobert, going up against these guys and proving, oh yeah, I can do this against the best defenses. I do believe there's definitely some merit in that, improving his game, and now heading into this season, he just looks like he's on a different level. Just talking about Ja, forget about the comparisons for now. What he's been able to do so far is ridiculous. He's not going to continue to average 35 and 8, but the improvements he's made, so far he's shooting a lot better from 3, small sample size, is skewed by the Lakers game, so we probably won't put too much into that, but ironically, He is shooting better from the free throw line. But the major improvements, it's not the three-point shooting, it's not the free throw shooting. Do you want to guess who averages the most attempts within 10 feet of the rim? You would have the likes of Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, Davis, all of these guys, right? That's who you'd imagine. Well, some of those guys are towards the top in double digits, yeah, for sure. But the guy who is leading the way, and it is not even close, he is so far ahead, it's ridiculous. Through 3 games, Ja Morant is averaging 16 attempts at the rim. Well, not at the rim, should I say, within 10 feet. So that includes attacking the rim and also that little floater game, which he has, which I think is really important to his game because he's really damn good in that 5 to 9 feet range where he gets that little push shot in. Yeah, so he's dominating in those areas. In general, if you look at the comparisons, the only player who has put up these kind of numbers on this kind of volume is Zion Williamson of last year. Again, it's been 3 games, but you can already see this man is getting downhill, he's controlling the tempo of the game, and he's pretty much getting whatever he wants inside. The man has averaged 11 attempts at the rim, they've been on ridiculous efficiency, he's getting to his floater spot, he's getting to his spot at will. He's getting the screens from Steven Adams, which have helped. Those Steven Adams screens have been good, so you go from Valanciunas to Adams, and it's just still fantastic. Those kind of screens you love to see. But he's doing that, and just his ability in the pick and roll, he's improved as a pick and roll ball handler already. He's been a lot better in those situations because he's just so good at getting those screens from Adams and then getting the defender on his back. And then all of a sudden it's often a 2-on-1. And when it's a 2-on-1, well, he's either getting to the rim like he's done so often, or he's dropping it off to Adams or whoever the roller is, because he's one of those guys where he can pretty much make his mind up while he's in midair, which is why the comparisons to Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook have happened. Ja will attack the rim, he'll hang in the air, and then he'll be like, actually, I don't want to finish over you, I'll just drop it off. Or he'll do a crazy reverse layup. Like, that's something that is very different, that is very special, and that's a reason why he is so good in the pick and roll. And although last year he did operate in the pick and roll a lot, he wasn't as effective, he wasn't as efficient. It looks like he's taken his game to a different level in that aspect, and that comes with just someone who looks like he's in more control of what he's doing. This is nothing that is completely different to what Ja Morant was before, in terms of he was always someone that loved to get to that 5 to 10 feet range, get those little push shots, attack the rim. We already knew this. Like, this was something he's been doing since college. But what he is doing is he's just operating at a higher level now, and he just looks to be more aware of what he's doing at all occasions. I mean, some of those plays that he had against the Lakers, that he had against the Cavs with like 4 7-footers could not get anywhere near him in midair. He was attacking Mobley, he was attacking Markkanen, Jarrett Allen. It really did not matter. He does not care who it is. Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley. He doesn't care. He's also so good at keeping the dribble alive. He'll make these plays where it looks like it's kind of going out of control, but then he'll keep the dribble alive and then just find a no-look cutter or find an open shooter, which the shooting is important to note as well. If you look at Memphis, which again, through 3 games, but so far, it looks like Desmond Bane, DeAnthony Melton are taking a leap, which isn't too surprising, and I could see continuing to happen, particularly Desmond Bane, who showed a lot of flashes of his ability to take players off the dribble, create his own shot, and now he's just getting more opportunity, and he's thriving. So I'm not surprised with that. Melton has looked good as well, and this added shooting, this added ability from these guys to create off the dribble is making Ja's game a little bit easier inside. You got Steven Adams' screens, Jaren Jackson is starting to stretch the floor again. Overall, the Grizzlies as a whole have looked a lot better. They've been the best ranked offense so far. They've also been the 30th ranked defense, so take it with a grain of salt. It's been early. They've been in some high scoring games. Last season, they were a top 10 defense, and it's like the 15th ranked offense. So I hope they can balance it out, which it looks like they're going a little bit further to balancing it out, which is a surprise because a lot of people talked about this Grizzlies team as though they were taking a step back. And personally, yeah, I wasn't too sure because they lost Valanciunas. They got rid of Grayson Allen, which seemed like a strange move to make. They drafted someone in Zion Williams, he's more of a high upside prospect. And it looks like maybe this was going to be the year where they bridge it between next year and then when Jaren Jackson is fully back into the swing of things and they've got Bane and Ja, and they all look really good. But so far, through 3 games, they've looked like this might be the year where they're just going to explode anyways. Because if Ja continues to do this, if Desmond Bane continues to look like the player he has, and if Jaren Jackson can continue to get back to what he has been, plus Steven Adams, who's been really solid, operating as someone who's passing and posting up and doing a little bit more than he has shown in other situations, I like what the Grizzlies are doing here. I also believe their defense is going to come back. It's going to be solid. Like, their 30th ranked defense, that doesn't mean much. It just means they've been scoring a lot as well because they've been in high scoring games. Just getting back to Ja Morant, if he can become an all-star in the Western Conference in just year 3, that's pretty good. That is pretty damn good. And so far, you can't deny that he has been one of the best guards, one of the best players in the league. Damian Lillard's had a slow start to the season. James Harden's had a slow start to the season. Maybe he could snatch an All-NBA spot. All I know is, if he continues playing like this, what he did in the playoffs, what he's done to start the season, the way he's just operating in the pick and roll from the mid-range, if he continues his three-point shooting as well, which I don't even think he needs to be a 40% three-point shooter, because the way he's just so smooth in the pick and roll and attacking the rim, it doesn't even seem like he'll need that three-point shooting. As long as he's somewhat of a threat, which he has been his whole career, the sky's the limit. We already know that, but it could be year 3 where he just turns into a superstar, a star, an all-NBA player. I wouldn't be surprised, because the way he's been playing, it just looks like he's taken his game to a different level. And me having guys like Zion and Trey and Tatum and Luka and all these guys ahead of him, if he continues this up, well, we're going to have a serious conversation about, is Ja Morant right up the top of that list? Is he around the mix of Luka Doncic and those guys? Because so far, he's playing like it. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day. Bye.